I think what I want to focus on is not one future, but many futures. So people, whether it's traditional societies or modern societies, we always say, here's the answer. And so it's very much the big man, the landlord, the person in power saying, here's the future. And our role, my role in foresight, is to open up the future, that there's many futures. So to do that, that empowers the person you're working with, that empowers them to be reflective on are they living their dream or someone else's dream. So foresight work is actually taking power about the future back. So that's why it's crucial to development work. Well, it depends on the context. So if it's education, we were doing one workshop, for example, in Queensland, and we said, okay, if we want people, young kids, to be creative, innovative, let's redesign the room. So you just don't have the whole notion of rows with this, the teacher at the front of the row. So we did this in Bangladesh, for example. The university is a good university. They want to innovate, but the way they've designed the school ground, the university is still, students don't move their chairs. So first, if you redesign spaces for learning, creativity, put beanbags, or whatever you do to reflect the world you want. So if I want an authoritarian world, I have strict rows and chairs where I'm at the head. If I want a more democratic, participatory world, it's not just saying the word, it's redesigning the space. The first thing is the way we're thinking about the future, does it make sense to my vision of development? So if you're a university in, say, a developing country, you may want to model yourself after Oxford or Harvard and their traditions. But that's acontextual. So with one university in Southeast Asia, they said, okay, do we want to do that? If we keep on trying to catch up, we'll never catch up. Let's make an alternative. So they started to think about, okay, let's now develop a greener university. Let's make our research funding go for the bottom billion. So the goal of the university changed by thinking through the alternatives. Now what that does is they're no longer trying to catch up, they're innovating, creating in new spaces. And the third part of it, instead of a world university rankings where Oxford, Harvard always be ahead, you develop a green, helping the poor, poor foresight university rankings where you're doing well, which feels much better. Mm-hmm. So it's not playing their game, re-innovating, creating new spaces to play the game you want, your preferred future. With the foresight work, by looking at alternatives, you ask different questions and come up with different solutions. And it reconfigures, you place your organization or institution in a different space. And that can be done at every level, from the very top or at the very bottom. At the bottom, it's more difficult, especially if it's a war area. So there's one workshop in Croatia, for example. And there, if you start to talk about the bright future, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's rubbish, because they just went through a trauma. So then in development work, it's actually naming the trauma, whether it's poverty or a climate change event or a war, and then working on the worst case scenario. If this continues, what happens in 1 or 2 generations, intergenerational trauma? What do we do today to create a different future? What assets do we need? What resources do we need? But it's starting out with the worst case and then moving towards the best case. But the worst case has to be named.